The new record is fantastic. Your second album, you've already been playing some shows off this record so far. Make some noise. We're kind of getting that sophomore album cycle going. How have the shows been so far, and how have the new songs been received?
It's been really fun. We've done in the States. We played a few of the venues that we first played when we put out our first record. So we went back and played little clubs, which has been really fun. And we just did like an arena tour in the UK and Europe, which was a bit mental because it's big and not what we ever thought we'd do. So we're coming back next year to do some more. But it's been really fun playing loads of the new album. Like we've just had such a great time. People seem to like it. It's been good.
I got to imagine that, the first record being so successful and going from this kind of club band in the States to doing arenas and bigger venues, the pressure to make the second record, I got to imagine, was a little high. I mean, how do you feel now that, Good Grief is a huge song on the radio for us and the album is being received well? What's it like to, I don't know if I want to call it a burden, but to have that sort of pressure off your back and to see it being received in a positive way?
I mean, we've kind of been asked the question before, but like the only pressure we really feel is the pressure we put on ourselves in terms of we make music kind of for ourselves and the kind of things we want to hear. So we don't really make it with kind of say radio in mind, all that sort of stuff. So obviously kind of trying to move the band and the sound forward, but staying true to the kind of people who invested in us the first time around, I guess. That was the only real pressure I felt anyway.
And it's a fucking massive relief.
There it is. That's the answer.
There you go.
No, it's great. It's been nice that I think the night that the record came out, we were on a flight, and really stupidly, I couldn't sleep on the flight, and so I got the Wi-Fi on the plane and was just basically reading through the internet, seeing people's reactions, which is probably the stupidest thing you could possibly do. But it was while it was coming out, like midnight was hitting at different countries hour by hour, so it was coming out all around the world, and I guess there'd been a lot of like stress that I maybe hadn't noticed, but these guys, the day after it was out, were like, oh my god, you just suddenly become a way nicer person immediately. But it was actually it was quite nice reading through everyone's comments and seeing all this hard work and all this stuff that we've been talking about for months and months and months suddenly be out there, and people seem to be reacting well to it, so it was good.
Awesome. So tell us about like maybe the content change from the first album to the next album. So we talked to you on the phone, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and you said you wanted to match how people's feelings are around the world, and so the world may be just a little bit different than when you came out with your first album. So how do you match that, and what was your thought process going into the second album?
Ooh, good question.
That's deep.
Yeah. I think like what I was saying to you before was just there's an element of like fantasy and escapism in our music that's sort of, I don't know, using stories and other people's stories to kind of try and say things. And I think on this record we just thought there's certain things that feel inescapable at the moment and very much of the time, stuff that's happened this year and the last couple of years. We just wanted to acknowledge it and not like pass any comment, but just acknowledge that it's sometimes quite weird to know how to get your head around it and how to react. And musically, we just wanted it to be a quite weird, diverse record. I think, assuming that you'd never heard it before, pushing play from the beginning to the end, we wanted you to just not have literally no idea which way it was going to go. And I think we achieved that. So we sort of didn't want to be restricted by genre or sounds or anything like that, and just make a slightly mental, weird, overly long record.
So we asked a bunch of people that are here at the Q&A what they wanted to ask you, right. And one of the top questions that people are concerned about is the tiny pineapple. So how did the tiny pineapple come about? And then the other follow-up question is, who runs the tiny pineapple Instagram account?
We are sworn to absolute secrecy upon pain of a savage beating, so, And
he runs it himself.
Yeah, he runs it.
For those who don't know, me being one of them, what are you guys talking about? What's going on over here?
If you don't know, you don't know, man.
Fair enough.
We don't know what you're talking about. Have you is it you?
It's not me.
Did you make this up? Okay, cool.
I remember a year ago, you played a radio show in Los Angeles, and I hung out with you a little bit backstage and watching some of the show, and I remember...
Was it you who drank all our beer?
That was me.
All right. Okay.
I was hoping you wouldn't remember. But we stocked you guys full back here, so you're good.
Love you.
Lots of local beer too. Good beer in Minnesota. Anyway, I remember, I think 21 Pilots was playing, or someone like that, and you wanted to go out and watch some of the show. You put a hoodie on, kind of try to disguise yourself, and it was like 20 seconds, and people kept asking for your picture and wanted to say hello, and you couldn't really do that, and after a few minutes you went back to your dressing room, and I was thinking, like, being famous, how do you feel about being famous, and is there anything you miss before you were a rock star?
I think probably the reason people were coming up to us is that we'd literally just played. I think but I don't know. I think we're quite lucky. Like, I don't really particularly feel famous. Obviously, in the context of our gigs and stuff, people like know who we are and that kind of thing. But in our everyday lives, like, we don't really do. I think we're pretty anonymous, which is quite nice. I think it would be fucking annoying.
I actually got asked the other day in the airport if I was famous, and I thought it's kind of ironic that the answer to the question can probably be found in the fact you have to ask. So no, obviously I'm not.
And I can't remember what I saw this in. I think it was, I was reading a book. I think it might have been the David Byrne book. I don't remember, but there's something about fame and defining that, really. What does it actually mean to be famous? Because there's always going to be people who don't know who you are. There are people who, they revolve their whole life around you in some way, right? So, I mean, what does that even really mean?
I guess that's what's quite interesting for us. I think potentially our music is more famous than we are, and it's always interesting meeting new people or being at a party, and I often find people will be like, oh, you know, what do you do? I'm in a band, and then eventually they'll be like, you know, what's the band called? And it's only after we say that what it is, they will either know or not know, and it's always quite a weird thing being like, in a band, and like, either they're going to have no idea and that looks embarrassing for me, or they'll know and that's even more embarrassing. So it's kind of a no-win situation. I'm like, Bastille? And a lot of the time people are like, never heard of it. Which is
Things you're either going to look a right dickhead by going, I'm in a band called Bastille, actually, you've definitely heard of us, or just dragging it out. It's, I'm in a band, what do you do? Play drums. What's the band called? Bastille. Just making them drag it out. It's, yeah, you just can't win, basically.
It's always an easier conversation when they're like, no idea who that
It's
is.
basically just don't talk to anyone. It's easy.
Yeah. Just shut off from the world.
So speaking of that, we have some mega fans out here. Where are the mega fans at for Bastille? Okay, that's what I thought.
Hello.
Can you see them?
How you doing?
There was one of our listeners from the morning show just got a tattoo right here of yours. Can you raise it up in the air? You're out there somewhere. Isn't that amazing?
He's off.
Really far away. Oh, cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Isn't that cool?
Sorry. That's
Part the
amazing.
C's.
Thanks.
So just kind of picking back on what
So
Miles was talking about, going from just being in a band to being in a band that people want to tattoo your logo and your lyrics and stuff onto their body. What does that mean to you? And can you talk to her right there? What that means to you? Look her in the eyes.
It means a lot. It really does. I think like it constantly blows our minds, because particularly with the first record, we made it like in my bedroom and in our friend's little studio, and it's still really surreal that these songs ended up meaning stuff to people. It's amazing. Like, we feel really humbled by it. There's a couple of times where people have asked me to write lyrics so they can have them tattooed, and I always feel that that's quite a responsibility, particularly one of the first times it ever happened. I misspelt a word. And then the next time we were back in that town, it was in Germany, this girl was like, I got the tattoo, and I read it and was like, all the blood rushed from my face. I was like, shit. And then I was like, I have to point it out, and she was like, no, I know.
What word was it?
I remember. Probably like the. It's probably a very easy word. I'm not very good at spelling. But yeah, no. So, but it's amazing to, you know, we're fans of other bands. Like, you know, we know how much music can mean to you, and I don't know. It's amazing that anyone would do that. So thank you.
Go ahead.
Just to say, I hope it didn't hurt too much. Nails, nice. All right.
So you guys have played First Avenue. We talked to you on the phone, too, about the Prince situation here in Minnesota, obviously very close to our hearts. Did you get a chance to make it down to Paisley Park? I know we had talked about you wanting to do that when you stopped by.
No, we literally just got here, and we leave at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. So I don't think we'll be able to make it, but next time, I hope. Have you been? Yeah, is it?
No, it's great over there. very emotional, but it's a celebration of his life. So if you're ever here for longer than a day, I highly recommend it. We'll have you back soon, for sure. I mean, people ask us, I have friends from out of town who ask me about our alternative channel and how to really define it. And I always mention Bastille as one of those bands, probably the definitive band to sort of explain what we do, this sort of upbeat pop/alternative kind of sound. And because of that, Good Grief, I think, is our first or second most played song we've played in 2016.
Oh, wow.
Lots of great bands, lots of great music has been released this year. I'm curious to know, maybe we can go down the line, some of your favorite bands that you've heard in 2016.
All our kind of tastes are quite diverse. So I've been listening to like loads of UK grime actually this year, rather than bands per se. So bit of Wiley, bit of Skepta, JME. That's my thing I like at the minute.
They're rappers.
Yeah.
You love Slaves as well, though.
Oh yeah, Slaves actually. Yeah, Slaves are a wicked UK band.
Do you guys play Slaves?
They're not rappers.
Slaves?
Yeah.
I don't play Slaves.
You
Well,
need,
I
you
will
need to
check them
start playing
out.
Slaves.
Okay.
Like now.
They just
On
made
it.
a record with Mike D.
This year's been a great year for albums. Like we've been obsessed with a few so far. The Kaytranada album, Anderson .Paak album
Amazing.
has been good, and then the Tribe album. It's just been out. I've not listened to it enough yet, but it's it's amazing.
Really good.
I just discovered, I mean, I know who Anderson .Paak is, and we play some of his songs on our hip-hop channel, but I really dove into Malibu over the weekend for the first time.
Good.
It, like, blows my mind. He's like the West Coast Prince in a lot of ways. So many different instruments, sounds, singer, rapper.
And he's the most insane drummer as well.
Incredible.
Saw him. We were playing a festival in Paris earlier in the summer, and he was playing before us. So we went to go check him out, and it's like he does everything. He does the whole thing. It's crazy.
He's a really nice chap as well.
You meet him.
Yeah, as we were leaving. We met him, didn't we?
I didn't. You might have.
Are you best friends with Anderson .Paak? You didn't tell us.
We definitely met him.
Well, you guys were both in LA at the same time last weekend, so I don't know if you ran into each other or if something may have happened.
Maybe I was drunk.
Also, sorry, going back to Slaves quickly as well. That album, so the latest album is produced by Mike D from Beastie Boys as well. If that helps,
Incredible.
kind of whet your interest any further.
Woody A&R.
I think the Banks record is brilliant, her second record, and so we're very excited about seeing her tonight. There's a guy, Rag and Bone Man, who is starting to get played on the radio here, I think. Do you?
We're
Amazing.
not to toot my own horn, but we're the first channel in the country to play his music, so thank you. No, Human's a great song. That's gonna be a big record.
So he's on. So we set up a record label with the producer that we work with, called Best Laid Plans, and he was the first person that we signed. So he's like on our label, which is quite cool.
Fantastic.
So it's amazing to see him doing so well, and that song's been like #1 in Germany for 3 months or something weird. Yeah, and might be Christmas #1 in England. So go Rag and Bone Man. But yeah, it's been a good year for music. What about you guys?
I think A Tribe Called Quest record is
So
fantastic. Maybe my favorite album of the year. Of course, the Bastille album. I mean, come on. I love the David Bowie record.
Oh, so good.
That's just one of the most emotional and just that's an artist going out on his own terms, and it's just so moving. But you watch the video, you see Lazarus, and you're like, wow, he really went out the way he wanted to. So that was amazing. The Radiohead record, of course. What about you, Ben?
Feels the first time with that record that somebody actually artistically took complete ownership over their own death, like knowing it was coming and made it. It's so mad when you think about it. That weird group realization across like the artistic society when he died, that he was like orchestrated this whole thing and it was meant to be. It was like, whoa.
Yeah, crazy year. One more inside question from your like biggest fans: the Oregano Saga. Anybody want to talk about the Oregano Saga?
Oh, what, sorry?
No, was that a plant question? The Oregano Saga? Nothing? Really? There's just so many questions on Twitter.
I've no idea what you're on about. What?
Okay, one of those things
No,
again.
no, really.
Really, honest to God.
The Oregano Saga. What?
Okay, well,
Maybe they mean cilantro, and it's...
Have you been reading fan fiction?
maybe.
Fair enough.
What's it to you?
Just asking.
So obviously,
You've been reading fan fiction. Is
Cover to cover, yeah.
Have you been writing fan pieces?
It's sexy.
All right. What do you want these guys to do when you guys are up on stage? Like, what is your favorite thing when you're interacting with the fans, when you're giving it all you got up on stage here? I know we talked about how fans are different around the world, and some fans, you said some fans throw pints over your head and get real crazy. Some fans in Europe sing so loud you can't even hear yourselves play your instruments. What do you want from Myth tonight at Snow Show?
Whenever Will is playing a guitar solo, just scream at him and try and distract him as much as possible. Do you have any things in your possession that you don't particularly value? Just throw them at him, at the guitar or the face. Yeah, that's it really. At that, and try and have fun if you are having fun. Obviously, you can't try. It's not a choice, is it? And you know, feel free to jump up and down like a weirdo with me, because that's pretty much the only dance move that I know. The old pogo up and down.
Well, we're going to open doors in about 5 minutes, so I want to thank you guys for your time. Bastille headlining Snow Show 16 tonight. Thank you all for being here. Miles the DJ, Ben from Ben, Dana, and Giselle. Bastille going on at 9:50. Thank you for being here. Bastille, one more time,
Thanks, guys.
everybody.